Okay, Claude, I just sent that over to you. And yeah, Candy, what's up?
So basically, what you have on the screen, is that in the booklet?
So these slides are not in the booklet. We can send you all the slides afterwards, but we do refer to some of the things in the booklet in this. We didn't want to send it ahead of time just because we were continuing to build on it, and we didn't want people to have multiple versions that they were looking at and cause confusion. But I'm happy to send that to folks once we're finished up here.
Well, that'd be perfect. That way
Mhm.
we can share. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Good to do. Thank you. All right. Do we have, so my screen here, since I'm screen sharing is, um, I have limited view here. So, if you put a question in chat and I'm not responding to it, just let me know. I think we have plenty of time for folks to ask questions. So just raise your hand if you need anything. But yeah, if we're ready to get started, here's an overview of what we've got for today. I don't think this will take super long. Um, but yeah, let's get going. My name's Alyssa. I'm the administrative project coordinator. And let's see. Well, real quick here, since we've got some time, is anyone here newer to RPEC, or is this your first training? We could, if you wanna, you can raise a hand or
It's my
yeah.
first training.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, welcome. All right, here we go. Everyone can see this okay? All right. So yeah, secretary duties and responsibilities. If you've got your handbook, and we also have this on the website, you would have had a green officer's manual here. And this one also outlines all of the officer's duties. Um, this one is more broad in terms of AFSCME, so it doesn't, it applies to RPEC, but we do have more specifics on RPEC here that we will go over, but just some extra background there. Um, but yeah, so for secretaries, you'll keep a record of all the proceedings of all membership meetings and all executive board meetings. So that includes minutes, and that includes, you can help out with the sign-in sheets at your meetings, so we can keep a record of who attended, and that'll be useful again for minutes and just to also collect some data of how attendance has been. So that's secretary duties, and carrying on the official correspondence of the organization, except when the executive board directs otherwise. So that one's pretty standard. And then performing such other duties as the executive board may require. And in the event president and vice president are not present at the meeting, then it'll be the secretary presiding officer pro turn. Does anyone have questions? All right.
Yeah, this is Aruna. What
Mhm.
do you mean by, can you bring the previous slide up,
Yeah.
please? Uh,
If it will let me. Here we go.
um,
Yes.
this is my first leadership training.
Mhm.
I couldn't unmute myself before, but saying carry on official correspondence of the organization,
Mhm.
what does, I mean, what do you mean by that official correspondence of
Mhm.
organization?
Yeah, so that would be minutes and records. A lot of secretaries also help out with the newsletters. So that's a lot of like the communication stuff that secretaries can support. And you all might have something else worked out within um, that your officers are doing. So, it kind of depends, and that's totally fine. But generally, that's what it'll be with like communications and keeping records, things like that. So, and we'll get into records keeping a little bit later. And Sharon, what's up? Go ahead and unmute yourself there.
I lost the screen that has everybody in this room on. Did
Mm-hmm.
I do something or we don't get to see that?
No, you didn't do anything. Let's see. I'm trying to think what it looks like for you all.
Oh yeah, all I get is, our PowerPoint thing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but we only see them when people talk. Is that correct?
Yeah, okay. Oh, I see
Okay.
your chat here. Um, let's see. You all, if you click on view, and my screen looks a little different, but I believe it'll look like a square made up of smaller squares.
Yeah, the
And if
small, that's what, it
yes,
disappeared. It
so
disappeared.
it might have switched you to full screen. So on your keyboard, try clicking the escape key, ESC, and that might
Okay,
take it out.
what,
Yeah.
I'm on my iPad.
Oh,
don't-
iPad. That's trickier.
Yeah. And it was here, but it disappeared. I
I've
didn't
got-
know if we're, you know,
I've got an iPad. If you go again to your left and say, turn off center stage,
okay,
that-
turn that
that-
off. Okay, that'll
try
be it.
shutting that off. And then if you look at the bottom, you need to pull the pictures or whatever's on the bottom to the left or the right. And then you can see everybody at the very bottom of the document.
Ooh. See, I
Try
got a
that.
list of, Brady's screen. And I pulled it to the right and nothing, it just disappeared. I can turn on, should I
Do you
turn
see-
off center?
Do you see a minus and a
Yeah,
little?
and your picture is there. Your picture is there because you're talking, but I don't have the grid with everybody participating.
Right, there is no grid. As long as
Oh.
there's a document that's up, you can't see everybody at the
Oh,
same time
okay, okay.
on an
Shoot.
iPad.
Sorry about that. I'm glad we have another iPad user here to help us out.
I've used this every time and never lost pictures, so I never experienced that with the iPad. In
mhm.
fact, I don't even have Zoom on my laptop. It's
Okay.
always on the
Yeah,
iPad.
yeah, I've used it on the iPad, and it can be a little wonky with the
Okay.
view.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
sorry about that.
yeah,
The technology.
yeah.
All right. Are we ready to move on? Is there anything else? All right. Awesome. And why? There we go. So the executive board, we're Titan chapter executive board. So governing body of the chapter when general membership meetings are in session. So at your membership meetings, these are the folks that'll be voting on the motions, and they decide on all matters affecting policies, aims of the chapter not specifically provided for in the Constitution, or by action of the membership at a regular special meeting. And really important to note that a majority of the executive board members are required for a quorum. And that's very important for voting. Whenever you all do elections, especially, you have to have a quorum. Okay, move to the next one. So yeah, elections and succession planning. Dan, what's up? Go ahead and unmute yourself. There we go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That last slide, it said
Yeah.
when the general membership meeting is in session. I thought it was when they're not in session.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too, and it's kind of opposite to what the next one is. So I have a little handbook here.
Because that's what we were told, is that the executive board only needs to meet when the president calls a meeting of the executive board, because the membership isn't in session. Like,
Mhm.
there's not a meeting going on at the
Yeah.
moment. So I just wondered if there should be a not.
I
in
think that
session.
might be a typo. Yeah, you're correct.
Okay,
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
new, so I'm not sure, but I just
Except,
wondered.
yeah, it says except when general. Okay, yes, you're right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I'm glad we have seasoned leaders here too, and I want to encourage you all to share best practices for those of us here that are newer to it. So thank you all for returning if you have been here before as well. All right, we good? Okay, elections and succession planning. So we've got the retirees officer manual that I've showed you all, the green handbook. The blue one is specific to elections, and we have that one on the RPEC website too that you can view. We don't send that one out with the handbooks typically. And then the chapter appendix A, that's the chapter constitution. We have the RPEC constitution and then convention. So for chapter elections, Typically in the Appendix A, it's that folks do nominations in March and then elections in April. Yeah, I have that on there twice. Okay, 15-day notice of nominations and elections must be sent to all members. Folks have been doing a good job. They put that correspondence in the newsletters. And then you all will fill out the chapter election report forms. They have to be submitted right away, and typically it's the secretary that does that. And if elections are held by secret ballot, then they're held by secret ballot if the meeting is hybrid or virtual, then they have to be held by mail-in ballots. And specific questions about elections, yeah, go ahead, Donna. Okay. Yeah, if folks have questions about elections, I'll probably have to forward those over to Jacob to answer that, because he has his hands on that a little bit more. But mostly just in terms of the secretary role, then you all will be the ones that submit the chapter election report forms. And we sent a copy of that. That was included in the handbook this year. So hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, so convention, the convention call is issued the first week of March. We use the membership count from the chapters as of February 28th to determine the delegate allotment, so how many delegates each chapter gets. All right, I had to have some water. I didn't want folks to hear my slurping sounds. All right, so yeah, the timing of this, that gives chapters time for meetings and elections. The delegates have to be elected, so that's why we kind of time it early so that everyone has time for that. And the convention call, we send that to the presidents as well as the secretaries. Secretaries receive the registration form, and the presidents receive the call, and as well as secretaries. The difference is that secretaries also get the registration form. So whenever you all submit that, any resolutions, amendments, the registration forms, they have to be signed by either the chapter president or the secretary. So just make sure that you all have that. And then for resolutions and amendments, we have to receive those. The council office has to receive those 45 days prior to convention at the latest, because those will go to the convention body. So 15 days before convention, we send the resolutions and amendments over to delegates or the chapters. We good? All right. Yeah, membership, the strength of the chapter is in direct proportion to the number of members who actively participate. So again, thank you all for coming and all of your hard work that you all do. So there are different ways that we recruit members. We have the RPEC roles and responsibilities for membership recruitment and retention document was recently adopted by the executive board, the RPEC executive board, and that's on page 16. So that one has a lot of details there about who does what. But generally how members are recruited, the biggest one would be the blind mailing. That one, it goes out around like April to all of the public sector retirees in Washington State or their spouses that have not already signed up to be a member of RPEC. So it goes out to thousands of people. And then usually in a couple of weeks, the council office, we get flooded with returns from the blind mailing. And they just come on little cards like this. But, we'll get over 1,000 of those that come in. And so for about a month or two, we are submitting those into the database. So around that time of year, you all will see an influx of new members into your chapters. And we have resources in the handbook too that are kind of a suggested script of ways that you can engage with the new members and draw them into your chapter meetings, tell them how they can get involved, all of that, which a lot of you are already doing a great job. So thank you. There's outreach events and speaking engagements. So we have a lot of members will go, they'll table at events, events like we have with our partners. There was the Healthcare for All rally recently, and we have representation there from RPEC and other events. I went with Jacob to Spokane for a WFC convention last year. I believe it was WFC. No, Council 28, I think. Yeah. So then there's also networking with unions to support their retirees. That kind of goes back to what we were doing with the WFC convention. Speaking with folks who are near retirement. So anyone who is within 18 months of retirement can sign up to be an associate member. And their dues are free up until they retire, and then they become a full member. So that's something. And then Dan, what's up?
When you said the blind mailings go out and then you get thousands of cards back, are those like people that said, yeah, here's my credit card, take my dues out? They're ready to pay. They've paid, and then we find out that they're now paying members of our chapter.
Yeah, so I don't know if my little camera will let me show it. You can kind of see what they look like here. So that's a membership card that we got, and yeah, they sign it, they fill in their information, their contact information. Not everyone provides that, unfortunately, but we do have the address printed on the card that helps. And so their signature on the card is authorizing dues deduction through DRS. They have the automatic. And sometimes people will go ahead and send a check with it, and then we just put it in that they're going to be a cash member. So yeah, Jacob, our membership coordinator, does the membership reports, and he does that regularly. I'd have to check with him and see how often, but he will send that out to you all, and then you'll have the new members that were recruited from it. Does that answer the
That's
question?
one. Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed that a blind mailing, when you just send out, and we haven't had contact with the individual, and all of a sudden they get something in the mail and they're ready to join. Because
I know,
I've thought that in our chapter we've had like membership, calls going out to people, like
the cold calls.
calling them and
Yep.
talking to people, and they're not as receptive as maybe sometimes.
Yeah.
But those are people that are members, maybe, but they're not attending, they're not active. That's when we don't get them to come out to meetings and things. But
yeah, you can't get them all, unfortunately. But
right.
yeah,
Okay.
the mailing, it's called the blind mailing because us at the office, we can't see who it's going out to. We only know what we have returned to us. We partner with the Department of Retirement Systems for the blind mailing, so they're the ones that have like the addresses and the information of these retirees and their spouses. And we partner with AFSCME for the funding of it. And yeah, so that goes out to everybody, and we just see what comes back. And unfortunately, we do have some folks that didn't realize that they were signing up for something. It's pretty common that we'll get a handful of calls of folks that were like, I'm getting this deduction and I didn't sign up for it. So we kind of show them the record of it, and we're very understanding if they're like, I can't do this, then we'll cancel it. But sometimes they come back later, so or it's a very positive conversation, and sometimes they just wanted to know what the deduction was for, and then they're good. But yeah, the card, it has information about RPEC, but it also goes with a letter that's written that has information about RPEC and what we do and what we have done in the past. So yeah, we have some questions. Jessica. You're muted here.
So what happened when the list came out for us, our vice president and our president call the people on that list and encourage them to get involved. So that just started since we have new officers. So we'll find out tomorrow. We have our meeting and we'll find out how well that has gone. So, but we decided just getting the list doesn't really count anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
they didn't want to call them cold calls. They called them something else.
Uh-huh.
They thought cold calls wasn't good, but
Yeah.
that's what they're doing and trying to
Okay.
encourage people. And the thing is, in chapter 10, most of those people are from Western State,
Mm-hmm.
so they know each other.
Oh, okay.
So
There you go.
that's been very helpful also.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that first outreach is really important, especially when it's fresh on their minds that they just joined this. So awesome. Sharon.
I just want to say that that last mailing that AFSCME sent out, I mean, we were up like 37 members overall. You know,
Mhm.
some were maybe regular, but I think that was an astounding number for just our chapter to
Mhm.
increase. And I think if people are newly retired, they're used to being in a union, a thing to kind of be all together on. And so it's a good time to get those letters out. And
Mhm.
I told Jacob I was really impressed. Whatever that was, let's do that again.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
The new member packets are going out now. So all the
Mhm.
people that signed up, yeah, we're getting those out. It's good timing. I was starting to also get calls and they were like, I've signed up for this thing, but I haven't gotten any information on it. I was like,
Right,
it's coming
right.
your way. Yeah, yeah. So that's great.
So,
And it's good you all are doing that outreach too. So
mhm.
when it's fresh. Yeah. Aruna.
Yeah, my question is, when you talk about blind mailing and collaborating with DRS, these are the people who are already retired, correct? Yes.
Yeah, yes, they're
Mhm.
already retired.
And is it we catch them when they're newly retired, or are they out, 1 year into it or something? Because the, that timeline is important,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, and sending the information. You said you sent the RPEC, what RPEC's mission is and
Mm-hmm.
what has been accomplished and all. So with the blind letters, that information goes or not?
So for the blind mailing, it goes to all retirees that are public sector retirees eligible for RPEC, whether they just
Uh-huh.
retired or they've been retired for a really long time.
Okay. All
Mm-hmm.
righty.
Mm-hmm. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and with the information about RPEC
Mm-hmm.
goals for, say, this coming year, or whichever way, the information you share, right?
Yeah. They also get the letter and it talks about I think this one mentioned the Plan One COLA that we were able to get that again this year, and along with other RPEC accomplishments, and yeah, generally what we do, which is the legislative advocacy.
Okay. All right.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, Celeste.
Yes, had to unmute myself and my
Hmm.
fingers weren't working. I'm the rara avis. I'm not a state retiree. I'm retired from the city of Tacoma.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering if you guys reach out to like the city of Tacoma pension board, which actually includes the library and the health department. Doesn't seem so. When I retired 8 years ago, I had to pretty much hunt you down.
Oh yeah.
The only reason I talked to people at the international convention, and there were I was also the delegate to the Pierce County Central Labor, and they told me about it, but you really need to do a little bit more. I know there's some other things, I think Seattle, but to um, reach out to the folks that are eligible but are not on the state retirement rolls.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure what it what we were doing for recruitment 8 years ago as far as blind mailings go. But yeah, we are working with AFSCME and the locals here to make sure that RPEC is also on their website so that they can find us. Because yeah, whenever I went to that convention in Spokane, I had a lot of folks come up that were near retirement. They're like, how come I haven't heard of you all yet? I was like, that's a great question. So yeah, we're working on that. They're supporting us now with more visibility, but again, having that face-to-face that you all do with your previous employers, that really helps a lot too. But yeah, would like to
Yeah,
have
the
that change where it's kind
other
of standard messaging, like here's what's next if you want to keep doing what you're doing.
yes, the other thing is you could reach out to the Council 2 convention,
Mm-hmm.
which is where I was because I was a
Mm-hmm.
city employee.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. And Adrian.
Hi, I'm from Chapter 37, and we've done pretty exhaustive researches on trying to get in contact with people who are newly retired. And we've been blocked at every corner by the privacy laws and the HR not being willing to give us information on who's retiring. So it's kind of like a hit and miss. I mean, yeah, we've gone to union functions, we've gone to local meetings to explain you could belong to us in advance, and we've done all that sort of work. And but unfortunately, you only get union members, and we like to broaden it. I mean, union members are great, but we want to broaden it. We have people in our council from PUD, cities, schools, all sorts of different public entities, and it's really a challenge to try and get information in to those folks. So we're very careful that if we have members drop, we have a 2-person group that aren't board members, so that it's not more difficult on the president or vice president or whoever. And they actually call those who've dropped to find out why they've dropped it. A lot of the time it's because they've gone into some level of skilled nursing care, or they've deceased sometimes. So
Yeah.
and then when we find new people, then we call, we welcome them, we offer to go to meetings with them. But it's not easy to get information through HR anymore like it used to be.
Yeah, yeah, that changed for us too. I think around 2019 or 2020, a new law was passed, and so that was when we actually weren't able to see potential members anymore. Basically, the list that the Department of Retirement Systems has, where they know who to send the mailing out to. We used to have access to that, but because of this law being passed, we no longer were able to, and that kind of affected that too, with finding potential members, relying more on the blind mailing. So yeah, we that's a continued effort, because there have been also a lot of cultural changes too, of course, over the last few years, that I think has had an impact too. And yeah, so our legislative advocacy is another thing that has drawn in members. That was something that we made sure was highlighted in the letter in this year's blind mailing, which seemed to be very effective. People seemed to understand a little bit better what they were signing up for. So that's good. And yeah, so then developing and implementing a chapter recruitment and retention plan. I would say this is a little bit more so involvement with the chapter membership committee, if they have one, as well as the vice president plays a big part with the membership committee and supporting that, or being the chair of that committee. So we have in the handbook as well a recruitment and retention plan that you can refer to, and kind of you can just use that as a reference, or use that to just use that for your own chapter, or kind of do a spin-off of that, kind of based on what you read there, whatever works for you all, because it is going to be different depending on demographics, your location, etc. All right, we'll move on. Okay, so potential meeting locations. This seems to have also been something that's kind of changing right now. But generally, folks are hosting their meetings at restaurants, libraries, which seem to also have good Wi-Fi and also tech support for a lot of them. So they can support with hybrid meetings at a lot of libraries. I don't know that that's the case in a lot of areas that are a little bit more rural, but yeah, and also senior centers are good for hosting hybrid meetings or just general, in-person only meetings, whichever works. And parks for outdoor events. Sometimes the full district will come together and host a meeting at parks, or just an outdoor gathering, not necessarily a meeting. And then hybrid meeting facilitation. That's something that we might get into a little bit more later. It might also be something that would fall more under Jacob's umbrella again. So yeah, next. There we go. Yeah, meeting objectives. That's to inform the members of what is happening, what might happen, and why. Making decisions to guide the chapter's activities and program, and arrange to implement these decisions, and of course build unity within the chapter. You're syncing everybody up. You all will see a lot of communications from me that I send out to all of the chapter leaders. So that includes the chapter officers, as well as the trustees and executive board. And it's a notice that the RPEC executive board is meeting, and I provide you all the materials for that. And that's to keep you all in the know of what is happening at RPEC, so that, if you are going to attend the RPEC executive board meetings, that is so that you can help bring that information back to the members at your membership meetings. So sometimes I send the email out to folks that there's going to be the executive board meeting. They're like, I'm really sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it, or is it required? And no, unless you're on the RPEC executive board, it's not required. It's just something that we recommend or that we suggest, just so you can stay informed and you can bring that information back to members, especially those who don't have computer or internet access, might not, for whatever reason, be able to attend the executive board meetings. But that's what really drives the organization. So it's good to stay up to date on that. And yeah, to inform others. Some folks do that in their newsletters. Yeah, if anyone has, we'll get a little bit more into the communications later, actually, so we can hold off on that. All right, no questions. So meeting agendas give the meeting a clear purpose. They ensure the meeting stays on track, on topic. It allows you all to easily follow along. You know what to expect. I use the agenda as a template for the meeting minutes. And we have a sample agenda template on page 66 of the handbook. Just you don't have to make it look like that at all. But that's just generally how I have been doing it. But I do some crazy formatting with mine. But yeah, so that's something that you all might be developing along with the president or vice president of your chapter in advance of the meeting. And I also see a lot of folks put that in the newsletter for the next meeting too. So that is good. Yeah, so creating the meeting agendas. Is it an executive board meeting? Is it a general membership meeting of the chapter, committee meeting, etc.? Of course, establishing the objective or purpose, identifying the meeting topics, and you can allocate time to discuss each topic if you need to. If we here at the office have kind of a very dense agenda, then we'll create a version of the agenda that has kind of the time slots blocked out so we can plan the day that way. So yeah, next is the meeting structure. And this is also kind of the structure of how the agenda looks typically. So it's calling the meeting to order. Usually that's president, vice president, and then the roll call of officers. Typically that's the secretary that will do that. And again, having a sign-in sheet at your chapter meetings will be really helpful for that too. So then there's the reading of the minutes. That's the previous set of minutes from your last meeting. The membership, there will be a vote of approval. The MSC that you all see, it's motion, seconded, and carried. And then any other important correspondence there, followed by the different reports for officers, committees. Old business, that may be it's sometimes also called unfinished business. So if there was a topic that came up at like a previous meeting that you all are going to revisit, that would be the old business. New business is obviously something that hasn't been brought up previously. Sharon, yeah.
I want back to the minutes,
Mhm.
reading of the minutes. We don't do that at our chapter. We make copies so that the attendees can read them over. It's maybe
Yeah.
kind of faster.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. It says reading of the minutes, but yeah, that's how we do it too. On the council level is we send the minutes out pretty much once they're done actually. So right after the meeting, we'll generate the minutes, we send that out, and everyone can read those if they have suggestions for anything that needs to be changed. They can do that, and I'll send out a revised version. And then they get it again right before the meeting, shortly before the meeting, so that they can review it. If they need to make changes, they can bring it up at the meeting. But yeah, no one's actually sitting and reading through the minutes during the meetings. That that would be a while. Some of my board minutes are like 8 pages long. So yeah, I'm glad. Good to clarify that. Christine. Oh, can you unmute?
I was questioning why it didn't include the treasurer's report, but obviously that's the treasurer's part of the office report.
Yes.
Right?
Yep, absolutely. All right. Any other questions? Yeah. Aruna?
Yes, when you talk about introduction of members, are you talking about the office holders? Or are you talking about the new members? Because I feel like introducing new members would be really important
Yeah.
and make them feel welcome. So
Yeah,
I wonder,
definitely.
what do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's typically not something that we do at the council board meetings unless we have like a new board, so after elections. But yeah, I think generally at the membership meetings, it's for the new members. If there's new folks, then folks can go around and introduce themselves. But yeah, that it's whatever works best. Again, this is kind of a sample of the general structure, and it'll vary, depending on your chapter, on your meetings. So yeah, just to keep that in mind. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
All
I think
right.
so.
Okay, and then Sharon.
My other question, when we talk about the treasurer, see, we list that on our agenda and it's reported in the minutes. The treasurer produces it, does all the information if people need it at the meeting, but it's actually part of our motion to accept and put it in file. But it's not listed. I noticed even on the e-board over there, there's no mention of a treasurer's report at all.
Yeah, so the treasurer's report that we get, it's a pre-written document. So we don't repeat that information in the minutes that we take, because we have a separate attachment that does have that. And yeah, so I think it again depends on how that's being communicated.
So if I wanted to say, how is our state, the e-board, treasury, is it strong? Do I ever see the attachment just going in to review the minutes of what happened at the e-board? Is it
Yes.
there?
Yeah, so I send the packet ahead of time, and that has the treasurer's report. So you would see it then, but you know, hearing your question, I think that it would be a good practice to include that again whenever I send the minutes out to everybody. Because once I've let the board look at the minutes
Right.
and they get to, okay, I sent it to you all. So yeah, you know, I think that's a
Yeah.
good point to, you know, include attachments like that if it is just a written report that we wouldn't
Oh.
necessarily write again in the minutes. So yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's important. Okay, I'm writing a note for myself. Yeah, so it generally the membership meeting goes first, and then there's the programming. Typically that's how people are doing it, but again, the structure, it's based on I'm sure the schedule of your speakers and your meeting and other things. So if it has to flip-flop, you know, it's fine. This is not you know, set in stone requirement. It's fluid. All right, we will move on. Yeah, Christine. Oh, can you unmute?
Thanks very much.
Mhm.
Christine Clark, Chapter 13. Thanks to our wonderful president, Gail Spaeth,
Mhm.
we finally have a solution about keeping a meeting place for a longer time. Generally, if food is included in our meal
Mhm.
or our meeting, we each order, and in the past, we've left the tip or gratuity responsibility to the individual members.
Mhm.
But we've lost meeting places that way because we are thrifty tippers sometimes.
Mhm.
So Gail Spaeth met with our current meeting place restaurant and included the gratuity in each member's or guest's
Mhm.
bill. And we're able to keep our meeting place much longer this way.
Okay, interesting. That's good to know.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so they want to have that kind of locked down ahead of time, make sure you'll
Right,
be doing that.
right.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Good tip.
And no one protests us about it.
Yeah, all right, good. That's good. Okay. I'll go ahead and lower your hand there, and we will move to the next one. And we'll get into the meeting minutes now. I know we touched on that a little bit. Let's see, I think okay. I just saw your message to me, Sharon, and I we went over that, but yeah, I apologize. I can't see the chat that well. So yeah, meeting minutes. I use the agenda as my base template, but my process might be a little bit different. I kind of do a lot of crazy formatting in Microsoft Word. Some people do stuff by hand or on a tablet, and it might not be easy to just copy the agenda and then fill in the notes there. Again, whatever works best for your process and how you're keeping your notes. I have a sample minutes template on page 67. And again, I send the minutes out to the leaders, and you can kind of reference that. That's where that's kind of how I learned to do a lot of things. I just see how other people have done it and put my own flavor to it. You'll want to record the meeting minutes as the meeting is happening. I should specify that this would fall to the secretaries to do typically, but it's good for everyone to kind of know what the practice would be here. So yeah, write the meeting minutes as it's happening. Again, record who attended the executive board meeting or which officers attended the membership meeting. We've got the sign-in sheet for you in the handbook too on page 44. Especially the most important thing is going to be recording the motions, actions, and decisions as they occur. So you'll see in the minutes MSC, that's motion, seconded, and carried. There is also in the handbook the Roberts Rules Guide. That's helpful to see what the process is like there. some of it does get a little complicated when I read through it, but I don't think we always do. We haven't had every single, I would say, like, situation come up that we've needed to do some of the I think the stranger ones, but it's good to familiarize yourself with that. And you just need to write clear, brief notes. It's not a transcript of every word that was spoken. I tend to exclude who says what, like Martin said that the chapter is going to meet here today. We don't need to have that, which is chapter is meeting here and here. Just as an example. And we talked about the minutes are read, or at least they're presented to the membership at the next meeting, and then they can be voted on for approval or adoption. And I looked it up, the difference of approval and adoption, and there isn't really a big difference between the two, so they're kind of used interchangeably. Martin, you have a question?
Yes, Alyssa, thank you. When I was looking in the AFSCME Retirees Officers Manual,
Mhm.
they do suggest that you write down who the maker of the motion. So
Mhm.
I do write down who made the motion and who seconded.
Mhm.
Maybe that's not the regular way most people do it, but
Yeah, I saw that as well, and I do see that in the chapter membership meeting minutes, that whenever they're included in the newsletter. Sorry, I hope that wasn't loud. I just bumped my mic. We haven't been recording it that way in our minutes. We do record the video of the board meeting. I'd have to look back and see if that is something that we should be doing also at the board meetings, or if having the video suffices for that. So that's a good thing to bring up. But yeah, it's fine to say who brought up the motion, who seconded, and then whether or not it carried, or it was passed as well. So yeah. Is there anything else? Claude's clapping for me. Thanks, Claude.
Oh, did I raise my hand right?
I know, it just said you were clapping, so I just took it as a compliment.
Oh, um, I just want to say that I agree with Martin because this is the way it should be. And check Robert's Rules of Order, it will pretty much give you some guidance on that. And anytime anybody make a motion, they have to be recorded. Whoever second that motion, that has to be recorded also. So
Okay.
that is important. I just want to make that little note.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Claude. I appreciate that. So I've got here, these are minutes from the 80s. And as you can see, this is minutes that were recorded verbatim. So this is what you don't have to do. There's a lot of information here that wasn't needed, etc. We don't need a script, right? Marcia.
In our chapter, we actually don't take a vote on the approval of the minutes. Is that frowned upon?
So that is important. The minutes are essentially documents that are they can be audited. And so it needs to be on record that this was reviewed by the chapter, by the membership, and if they were approved. So yeah, that is important to do for the sake of, if it was audited, to make sure that's on record as well.
Okay, so in the executive board gets a copy of the minutes, within a couple of days of the meeting. So they all have the opportunity to change anything or add anything. But at the meeting itself, I only read the highlights and the motions and all that, So anyways. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
no problem. Yeah, and that's fine if you want to just point out, the highlights of the meeting. That, that's totally fine. Yeah, so whenever you're right, I send the minutes to the board within a few days of the meeting. If they see any like errors, something that I need to fix, then I'll do that. And then they vote to approve them or amend them at the next meeting. And I will record at the bottom of the minutes then when it was approved by the executive board. And that's the version that we keep on hand, for auditing purposes is really the main thing with minutes. And we'll get into the records keeping stuff, but I want to go ahead and note that your executive board minutes, those are to be kept indefinitely. So again, we'll get into like inheriting records and that. Does that answer your question, Marcia? Or did we cover that?
I think so, but you were
Mhm.
saying that you make a note then on
Mhm.
the minutes itself, that it was approved by the executive board. Is that
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Once they are approved, I'll it's a note at the bottom and it says approved by executive board on, and then I fill in the date that they had approved it. And if they made amendments at the meeting, then I will notate that as well. And it'll be annotated there, and it will say when it was amended, so that we have that on record too. And then so that's approved that way. Does that answer the
I
question?
I think so.
Okay.
We'll get to that
Yes.
keeping these records forever part later.
Yes, we are going to get into that. I know that's kind of let's see. Let's finish this round of questions here, and then how does it sound if we do a quick 5-10 minute break? And
Yay.
okay, yeah, all right. And then we'll plan for lunch. I'm thinking like 12:30. Does that work for
Mhm.
folks?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. We'll do a 30-minute lunch then. So yeah, I'll go ahead and finish up these questions here, and then we'll take a 5-minute break. Okay, Sharon.
Okay, I had the comment that I understood, like, if it's a motion where you're approving spending money,
Mhm.
that when the audit is done, they tie in those minutes, approving it with the treasurer check, dispersed.
Yes.
So you need to have that specifically in.
Mhm.
And I guess the other thing I just was, our the next month's minutes, I put in there that the previous ones were approved as written
Yes.
or approved as corrected. That's
Yes.
enough of a standard, right?
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you. That's another part of the process. Yes, is it's also because they are making a motion to approve the minutes, then the reading of the minutes section of the agenda, that's where it's a motion second carried to accept minutes or to accept as amended. So yes, that's recorded in the next month's minutes. Good for pointing that out. Christine.
I had a similar question, but your comments on storage of articles of records, we're going to be talking about that later.
Yes, yeah,
Right.
that'll come on. We've got a couple more topics that we'll hit. But yeah, that I think is going to be towards the end here. So
good.
yeah, because that's a big part. You all inherit a lot of documents from the previous officer, I know. So with that, let's take 5 minutes. Is that enough? Yeah. All right, we'll take 5 minutes. Let's come back at 12:01. Okay. All right. Thank you all.
Probably 11:31 though, right?
Oh.
Yeah, it's only
Yes.
11:26.
Yes, thank you. I think my math was a little bit off. Thank you. 11:31 or 32 because I just took up another minute. All right, see ya. Okay. We all back? Welcome, Wilhelmina.
Hello.
Hi. We just got back from break.
Yeah, I had a doctor's appointment that I forgot about.
Yeah,
So,
no problem. Glad to have you. Which chapter are you in?
30.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we will go ahead and get going. I again will send this PowerPoint out to you all once we're done here. So, yeah, we will 4 pages later, this set of minutes from the 80s. So, okay. So yeah, records maintenance and retention. We have this policy on page 35 of the handbook. But essentially, for a minimum of 7 years, you'll need to keep the minutes from your membership meetings, conventions, that's us, and other delegate assemblies. I think, again, that would be us. I don't really, I haven't really seen that, but I might learn a little bit more about that at convention. Celeste. Oh, go ahead and unmute, Celeste.
I did have a question, being a retired computer programmer. What's the policy of keeping minutes on and documents on paper versus storing them in digital format? The short answer is I lose paper. I tend to scan everything in and save it.
Yeah, you can definitely store it digitally. Obviously, not where anyone can get a hold of it, nothing public. But yeah, digital storage is fine. And again, as long as you are able to pass that down to the next secretary, for succession planning, just as long as you're able to get that to the next person, that's important. But we are also working on digital archiving as well, because we have a lot of paper. So
Yeah,
that's totally
I know
fine.
when I retired, I turned several of those flash drives, the little cushions, over to the next secretary, because I'd been the secretary for almost 20 years. You would not have liked to have seen the paper.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I bet. Okay, yeah. Yes, digital is totally fine. Sharon.
I guess my question is also, I've been secretary of chapter 13 since at least 2014. And I think I was doing it as a favor before that, helping out the president, but never been ever told to keep these records. And I'm wondering what changed.
I couldn't tell you when this policy was put in place. I know that it's general practice for organizations like ours, that record minutes that have executive board meetings. But as far as when that started, I couldn't say. Yeah, so hopefully you all received the previous documents from the secretary before you.
No, none.
No, okay.
None. And the thing is that I understood these kinds of things are actually for your office, not the individual chapters. And I have them all on thumb drives. I mean, I can't even keep track of my papers. I have to. Unlikely I'm gonna, but I've been keeping just the hard copy of the minutes and the treasurer's report for a few years. But just this requirement is different, and it helps me to understand when it changed and why, because then you realize, and maybe there's a new requirement by law, maybe a change in the whatever put us in that chapter. But my last leadership I took in 2021, there was no mention of reserving or retaining retention like that. And so
Okay.
would have had to been in the last 3 years, then I would guess.
Yeah,
one-
assuming it's been
yeah.
done right the whole time. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, it's for tax purposes, for our IRS 501 status.
Okay, you
that
need that for the treasurer.
for
I get that, but we
executive
do,
board meetings.
yeah, but don't we do the audits? I mean, that tells you everything's lined up, or you don't pass an audit.
Yeah, so the minutes of executive board meetings, that is where the actions are taken for a lot of like financial decisions as well. So that's why that also needs to be kept. Because yeah, like you had mentioned before, that is kind of an accompanying document whenever the treasurer has to draw funds or anything like that. They have that to accompany it. So yeah, that's why those would also have to be.
But they would be kept with the audit, wouldn't they? I mean, I've not ever audited, but I'm presuming giving the treasurer documents that throughout the year he didn't have or whatever. I can understand it at you guys in Olympia's level. I get that because you're a direct council under AFSCME. I just don't understand it. And so because it hadn't been brought up before till last year in June. There was a mention of it.
Yeah, because I remember we had this in the handbook last year as well. So I'm wondering if it's possible if before it wasn't a document that we had included. I think, it could have been an issue with communication, honestly. If it is not a new thing, like that's entirely possible. And our team has changed over the years too. So you all know how that
and
is
maybe
too.
it's just the interpretation has changed. And who's to say we're right now and we're wrong before, or vice versa, really?
Right. Yeah. I'm actually pulling it up here. And I'm glad we're talking about this. This is why we wanted to try this year having breakout rooms specific to the role. And it's so that we can have discussions like this as well as go over the training.
Appreciate that.
So yeah, and I appreciate you all commenting too, because obviously I'm not in an RPEC chapter, so I don't have that same perspective that you all have. I have it at the council level. So yeah, I again appreciate this. I'm actually pulling it up here. Okay, so our records maintenance and retention policy per AFSCME Financial Standards Code, Article 3 in 2019. So that's when we have it noted here. As far as if that had actually been whenever it started, I couldn't say, because I know it's an IRS thing too. Jeff.
Well, I was just going to add what you were just saying. I think you're absolutely right. It's been in the AFSCME Financial Code for years and years. I was involved with AFSCME back to 2005. I'm sure it's been a part of the requirement forever. And, I think there's probably been a misunderstanding on the part of secretaries thinking that that was just the financial records, but the minutes of board meetings and conventions, executive membership meetings, those are all official minutes. Those are official documents, and record retention of those is essential. It goes back forever, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Lois. Oh, unmute. There we go. Thank you.
I've seen this before, and at first it panicked me, and then I read through it and thought, well, as for our chapter, we don't have mortgages, loan agreements, lease agreements, all this kind of stuff. So for our chapter, it's minutes, budget.
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
I have gotten a box. I've been secretary for 10 years at least, and I got a box from somebody who had been secretary for 8 years before that, and she says, here's all the minutes and stuff. And it's full of notebooks of minutes and all kinds of documents. And I'm thinking, every once in a while thinking, well, I should probably just throw it all out.
Mm.
But then there might be historical stuff and I don't have time to go through it all. So I'll just keep it
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
somebody's interested.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, it does have noted here financial reports, annual audits, budgets, and then yeah, the mortgages you all don't necessarily deal with. So yeah, that's good. So with that, when you inherit these documents or whenever you're passing it down to the next person, you know, the other documents, if it's older than 7 years and it's not, you know, any of the things listed here, then that can get tossed. And hopefully that takes some of the load off of you all if you have like a giant box of papers, because we have had that happen. I think it was last year someone brought up, they're like, I have a huge box of all these papers. I don't know what to do with it. It's like, well, hopefully it'll shrink down a little bit if you're able to, you know, get rid of the stuff that is you know, older than 7 years that isn't indicated here, something that needs to be kept. So yeah, I'm, you know, maybe that can be a team effort one day where folks can get together and they can kind of clean up a bit, especially, you know, as part of like succession planning. So the next person maybe doesn't feel as overwhelmed when they're given a huge box of, you know, these papers, like, oh, geez, and having to store it. So yeah, thank you. I will move to the next one. And yeah, so member communications. There's council communications, chapter communications. We'll go over the chapter newsletter process. Specific questions about that one might have to go to Jacob. So if there's something I can't answer, then I will forward that along to him and he can follow up with you all. He's running another breakout room, so I can't grab it right now. But and we'll go over some communications examples and then proper channel for communications to the council. All right, so council communications on our website. Hopefully you all have had a chance to look at the new website. And Derek had mentioned that there's a sneak peek video on there where it provides a walkthrough of how you can set up your account and log into it if you haven't done that yet. But we have on there blogs, forums that members can post to, and you all can communicate with each other there. So your chapter can have a forum that you all communicate on. We've got our calendar there with events, and they also each event on there has the Zoom meeting information. If for whatever reason you can't find it, it'll be most of the time on the calendar there. And every now and then there are errors on the calendar. And if you see that, just let me know and I can fix it. We've also got a video and digital archive on there too. If you are on the website and you go to the digital media tab, you'll see a drop down of everything we've got there. Social media, we are on Facebook. Jacob does a lot of the posting there. You can interact with us on Facebook as well as other members on Facebook. We send out the council quarterly newsletter to all members, and yeah, to all members. Some folks get it just by email if they've opted to do so. And then there's the weekly news flash. That one we send via email to everyone that we have an email address for, which last I checked, it was less than half of our members. So having an email is really helpful. That's kind of the primary way that we communicate. And that's how we can get information out really, really quickly. So, you know, something that's beneficial with the sign-in sheet is that, oh, I think Sharon Etheridge is calling me. Sorry, I'm gonna help her out real quick. Sorry, want to make sure she's okay. Okay, I'm back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aruna.
I was wondering when you say about communication by email, which is true where there is access, but we being in a rural area, there are a lot of people do not have access to email. So I know there was a federal legislation where they were making it available, but that is also ending.
Yeah, I
So
saw
what is
that. I was reading
Washington
about
State
that.
doing so that people can afford to have Wi-Fi and, kind of continue to receive email? Broadband access is the issue I wanted to draw your attention to.
Yeah, thank you. That's good to mention. Yeah, we understand that for a number of reasons someone might not have an email address, and that's totally fine. The newsletters, the chapter newsletters that you all send out, as well as the council newsletters, that the information that we got whenever we did our all member survey was that those were kind of the main sources of information for the people that did not have computer or internet access. So they really rely heavily on those. So that's very important that you all continue to do that. That's another way that you all keep them informed. I know that there are members too without an email address that are attending the chapter membership meetings. So that's another way you all can keep them informed of what's happening. So thank you for pointing that out, Aruna. I do want to acknowledge that. Let's see. I have a question from Brian here. Do members need to sign up to receive weekly news flash and email blasts? No, you don't. As far as I know, as long as we have your email address on file, then you should be getting it. If you're not, then you might want to check your spam folder or your junk folder and add us to, I think it'll say like a trusted sender, I think is what it is. So yeah, and there's also a way that you can subscribe to get text messages. Lois.
I had the same question. I have a good email because things from you folks all the time, but I have not been able to get the weekly news flash. I've even put my email address in on the website to try and get it, and I haven't got it. So
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, there might be an extra step that goes with it. I think there have been folks that had marked it as spam in the past, and then whenever they went back and fixed it, they still weren't resubscribed. I think they had to manually resubscribe. I'm gonna have to ask Derek about that, and then I'll follow up with you all. What I'm gonna do is once we finish this and I send you all the slides, I will have answers to questions like this that I was not able to answer. So yeah.
Well, I can just email Derek or something.
Yeah. I'm happy to do it for you. I'll want to let everyone else know what the answer to that is too. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Candy.
Hi, I just wanted to remind people that historically, people like myself that are on Comcast, that our email, the information was not going through to us. Comcast was blocking them.
I
And they, for
remember
some
that.
reason, didn't like your guys' info. So Derek had to set up a special group so that we would actually get the information. Now that might be another thing if you're sitting on Comcast, that is let them know, let the council know that you're a Comcast and you're not getting the stuff. And Derek's got it fixed so that I get all my stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I remember that we were having that issue for a while. So yeah, that could be a part of it. I also have an email forwarding list for folks that typically don't get our member-wide emails. The ones that go to everybody for whatever reason. So I'll add you to that list. But what I do is when we send out the weekly news flash, I forward that one to all of the people I have on my email forward list. So that the folks that I do know of that don't get it, they'll receive those. Christine. Oh, go ahead and unmute yourself. Thank you.
Christine Clark, Chapter 13. Our chapter sends out a quarterly newsletter and our meeting information. And excuse me. The quarterly newsletter is sent to all the membership by mail. And our RPEC Council has been very helpful in receiving our publication and printing it on the RPEC printer and adding the executive director's monthly report. So I would hope that all the chapters were doing that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, again, it's great. Some chapters do it a little bit less frequently. Some of them just meet less frequently, so they don't always send that out. But yeah, thank you. I agree that's important for everyone. That's a great way for folks to get information that, you know, that might be the only way they're able to get that. Especially there are folks in your chapters who have moved out of state, so they rely on that pretty heavily too. So let's see. Yeah, the direct email blasts. There's also the new podcast that we had mentioned earlier. It's called RPEC on Air. It's an audio only medium, and just you can listen to us talk with guests about different topics that are interesting to you all. I also just wanted to throw in there, if you have any ideas for an episode, then please let me know. You know, we're open to all of that. We're generating new content. I really want to hear from members. You know, if you all have a story that you'd like to share, or a message you have, then I would love to hear from you, and you know, we could feature you if that's something that you would like to do. So I just wanted to point that out for you all. And then miscellaneous executive director monthly letters that we include, we add to the chapter newsletter, the executive board minutes that I send out, etc. So chapter communications, we got into this a little bit already, but chapter newsletters again. Personal phone calls, so that would be you all reaching out to new members or potential members if you know of them, and inviting them to a meeting, or just you know, we've got a sample call script towards the end of the handbook that you can use if that helps you. Some folks just, they're good going off the dome, or some of you have been doing this and you already know what to say. So then there's also email. The council will provide you with a contact list of your members, including their email addresses. Jacob will send you those membership reports. Then there's the robocalls that chapters are utilizing for meeting notices and other communications. There's also, I had mentioned the RPEC website forums for chapters that you all can post to and interact with each other there. And then there's miscellaneous council emails too. So newsletter deadlines, 21 days ahead of your meeting, the chapter should send the newsletter over to staff. And so we review that, Jacob looks at it, and then I look at it, and we proofread. If you all need help with formatting and things like that, I'm happy to do that for you. And yeah, so we circulate that here. We make sure there's multiple sets of eyes on it. Then we get it back to you all to look and approve of any changes. And then 15 days ahead of the meeting, we'll send that to the printer if there are more than 200 recipients. If there's less than 200 recipients, then we actually produce the newsletter in-house. And then 10 days ahead of the meeting, the newsletter is mailed out to the members. So yeah, newsletter production. The message to members should be submitted in text format. So if you could send that to us as a Word document, or some people actually just type it out in the email that they sent us, and then we can paste it into the newsletter template. So the main thing is just if we can have the text to actually edit, instead of it being like an image file. A PDF is also tricky for us to edit. There's a weird conversion thing that I won't get into. But yeah, for what we do here, we just check for grammar, accuracy. You know, sometimes the folks have listed the wrong date for a meeting or something like that on the council level. So those would be things that we would fix. Adjust any formatting as needed, and then we'll add the executive director's monthly letter. And again, we'll share the draft back with you all for review before we actually publish it. After that, we publish the newsletter on the website. I believe behind the member access only, you're able to pull up the newsletters there, and they're also on the calendar if you click on the meeting for that chapter. The newsletters are shared with your district representatives and the executive committee. And then we also email it to members who have requested electronic newsletter delivery only. So that's something that can save the chapters some of the cost. If you want to promote folks which a lot of you all are already doing, but promoting, if you want an email of the newsletter instead of paper, then let us know and we can opt you in for that. Yeah, we'll go next. So membership communication. This would be something that comes directly from a member of the team here. So you can see where it says info at RPEC. So that'll be for specific messaging to you all. That doesn't come from the Action Network like the weekly news flash. This one is from us. So yeah, as you can see, this specific messaging about recruiting folks into committees after convention. Okay. Chapter leader communications. So again, something from staff that if you'll see here, it says, Dear RPEC chapter presidents, chapter officers, and executive board members. So, that goes to all of you, all of the RPEC leaders essentially, and that will have specific messaging. You all will get a lot of those from me. As I had mentioned, I send out the information ahead of time on the executive board meetings. You might get them for other committee meetings too. And again, that's just because we want to keep you all informed so you can pass that on to the other members. Okay. And so communicating with us, I had mentioned that the primary means of communication between the council office and chapters is over email. But we acknowledge that not all leaders have an email address. That's totally fine. They're making it work, and we're working together. So you can just give us a call as well. Also, a lot of folks, you all are doing a good job of supporting the folks that you know of that do not have computer or internet access. Some of you are sharing your computer, having that person come over and join you for the meeting, things like that. So email, please make it a habit to check it regularly because we send out a lot of time sensitive information there, including mobilizations. And then we have a note here, chapter and staff relations for the role of the executive board, which is to provide staff direction, support, and accountability through plans and policies. The executive director reports to and takes direction from the executive board and is the supervisor of all RPEC staff. So if you all have a request for a task to be performed by staff, just copy in Lori just to keep that communication visible. Okay, wow. Hey, guess what? We made it to the end before lunchtime. I mean, right at 12. So yeah, let's go over if you all have any questions. We can, or anything you'd like to discuss. I think we've had some really great conversations here. So yeah, does anyone have anything? Okay. All right. Well, with that, I've got the link here. We'd like for you all to take a moment to complete the survey here, the leadership training evaluation. There's also a question about the leadership handbooks. If you all have found those useful, what could change? I'm hoping that this year they're very helpful to you all. I think that they provide a lot of context about RPEC that I think will be especially helpful for folks who are new to RPEC. So yeah, that's all I've got. I will post this link in chat for you. If it will let me. Let's see. Okay. I'll send that to you all in this email here. It's going to take me a minute to grab that. So yeah, next, if you all have registered for it, is the AFSCME Financial Standards Code on June 14th. That is for officers involved with chapter finances, so typically presidents and treasurers and trustees. So that's what we've got. I will email you these slides and I will include the leadership training evaluation. If you all could take a minute to fill that out, that would be great. So we can keep improving on it year after year. And yeah, I really appreciate your time. Thank you all for these discussions and sharing best practices and asking really, really good questions.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Thank you. All right,
So,
take care. Yeah.
Alyssa,
Yes.
there's nothing for the afternoon then?
No, not for us. We're all done. Yeah,
Thank
there's just
you.
lunch in the afternoon now.
Can
So-
we go to the president's one?
You know, if you'd like to, I can move you over to that one. Is there anyone else that would like to do that?
I would.
Okay.
I would.
Okay.
I just,
But Alyssa, before you go, this was supposed to be from 10 to 3. Are you saying that we're done? We're not going to 3 o'clock?
Yeah, we had a feeling
Yeah.
it was going to end much sooner. We blocked it until 3, but we didn't think it was going to take that long. So, yeah,
Thank you.
it's
That's
done
great.
now. Can I, let's see, I will write down here who wants to do the president and vice president. So that's Lois, Maurice, and then Sharon, did you also?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
And Sue,
And
Adrian,
Adrian, okay. All
Uh,
right.
and Susan.
Susan, yes.
And Anita.
Anita. Okay.
May as well put Claude in there.
Claude, let's put you in there. All right.
Alyssa,
yes.
Bill Ziegler.
Hi.
Hi, put me on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah. One moment and I'll get you all in there. Let's see. Lois, did you have something else you wanted to add?
No, I just thought we were raising hands if we
Oh,
wanted.
okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Did I miss anyone? I've got Lois, Maurice, Sharon Etheridge, Adrian, Susan Herring, Anita, Claude, and Bill Ziegler. Yeah?
So Alyssa,
Yes.
this has been Esther.
Mhm.
The evaluation, is that on our email?
I'm going to email that to you right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It'll be just a moment.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Jeff?
Were there other breakout rooms beside president and vice president?
The other one would be treasurers and trustees.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. Could you
Alyssa,
transfer me to that one?
Alyssa,
Yes, Jeff, I will put you in that one. Yes.
you mentioned Sharon Eldridge, but you didn't mention Sharon Osnott.
Thank you. Okay, yes,
Okay.
thank you. I did not see your hand there.
Oh, all right.
Okay, cool. All right. Think that's everybody. So I will move you all and yeah.
I have one more question.
Yes.
If you are a secretary and going to be on the Friday training, would it be better to be in where the treasurers are instead of the presidents?
So
today?
that one is different. It's all in one group. So there won't be breakout rooms as far as I know. They're not going to be doing it that way.
But I mean, rather than this afternoon going to a president, vice
yeah.
president, would it be more beneficial for me as a secretary to be in on what they're talking about as treasurer right now?
Oh, I see. Yeah, you know,
That's
Just
an
curious.
individual decision.
it's I think it would be up to you what you felt
Okay. I've
you
already
wanted to
been to
know.
the AFSCME training for that,
Uh-huh.
but you know, and then I'm going to ask you because I did miss a share of our thing this morning because of being logged off for some reason. But
Yeah.
how soon can we listen to the rest? Will it be available?
Yeah, I will. We're gonna get this uploaded as soon as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's a big file, so it might take a minute. But we should have it like maybe tomorrow. It'll be this week for sure.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I'm going to kick you all out and I will move you all in the right rooms if you have asked to be moved to another room. Okay, thank you all. I really appreciate it again.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Mhm.
Thank you, Alyssa.